We left my stupid husband miles away from home as a joke, but when he returned, it was not him. Or rather, it wasn't the him I'd left behind. It's strange, isn't it? How you can live with someone for years, sleep next to them every night, share thousands of meals, and believe you know every single thing about them. You think you know their weaknesses. You think you know their limits. You think, in some dark part of your mind, that you're in control. How are you all doing today? I hope you're somewhere comfortable, maybe with a hot cup of tea or coffee. I hope the weather is good where you are, and I truly hope you're feeling safe. Because for a very long time I wasn't. My name is Chloe, and this is the story of how I went from the woman who thought she was pulling a harmless, hilarious prank to the woman who was fighting for her very survival against the man she used to call her husband. I can still see him. That first moment he came back. He was standing in the doorway of our home. 3 months after we'd left him. 3 months of police reports, missing persons posters, and frantic, fake crying to his mother. He wasn't angry. He wasn't crying. He wasn't even relieved to be home. He was just still. He was thinner, much thinner, and he was wearing clothes I'd never seen before, a simple, dark shirt and pants that fit him perfectly. But it was his eyes. They were calm, focused, and completely, utterly empty. That was the precise moment I knew the joke was over. And something else, something terrible, had just begun. This story, it's a lot. It's about how a single, stupid, cruel decision can unravel your entire world. It's about thinking you're the smart one, the one with the power, right up until the exact moment you realize you were the fool all along. If you're ready for a story that will hook you and not let you go, please settle in. Grab that drink, maybe a snack. You are going to want to hear this. And hey, if you enjoy this kind of raw, real storytelling, please consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on the notifications. It lets me know you're out there, and it means I can keep bringing you more stories just like this one. But let me start from the beginning. Because to understand what he became, you have to understand the man he was. Or at least, the man I thought he was. I met Ben when I was 22. I was 27 when I married him. I didn't marry him because I was swept off my feet. I married him because he was safe. I thought marriage was about finding someone who fit, someone who wouldn't challenge me too much, someone who would be easy. I see it now. I wasn't looking for an equal partner. I was looking for an accessory. My naivety wasn't in trusting him. My naivety was in dismissing him. Ben. Oh, Ben. He was sweet. That was the word everyone used. He was kind. He was predictable. He remembered my parents' anniversary. He did the dishes without being asked. Every single night. He told me I was beautiful every single day, even when I was in my oldest stained sweatpants. He loved me. He loved me with a kind of simple, total devotion that honestly, it bored me. It didn't just bore me. In the end, I think I resented him for it. It felt weak. I was young, I was arrogant, and I was deeply, deeply insecure. And I took all of that insecurity out on the one person in my life who would never, ever fight back. Ben. I remember this one time, about a year before the joke. We were at a company picnic for my job. One of my bosses, a guy named Rick, was being way too friendly. Hand on my lower back, laughing too loud at my jokes, refilling my wine glass. Ben just stood there, holding 2 paper plates of potato salad, watching. He didn't say a word. He just watched. Later that night, I yelled at him. Why didn't you do something? You just stood there and let him embarrass me. You looked like a fool. He looked at me, and his expression was just blank. He said, You seem to be handling it, Chloe. He's your boss. I called him a coward. I called him weak. I slept in the guest room. I thought I'd won that fight. I thought I'd proven my point. I never once stopped to think about the way he had been watching Rick. It wasn't fear. It was assessment. It was like he was filing something away. I dismissed it. It was just stupid Ben, being passive. That was my first mistake. And it was a big one. The joke was my sister's idea. My sister, Karen. Karen is, well, she's me but amplified. Louder, brasher, and even more convinced of her own superiority. She and I had this toxic feedback loop. We fed on each other's worst impulses. And we both thought Ben was this pathetic, sweet loser who was holding me back. We were planning our annual sisters' weekend to a little cabin about 4 hours away. Ben, of course, was worried. Is the car okay, Chloe? Did you check the tires? Do you have the number for the ranger station? What if you get a flat tire? It's so remote. He was hovering, fussing, being Ben. And Karen looked at me, and this slow, cruel smile spread across her face. You know what would be hilarious, she said. The plan was simple. Ben insisted on driving with us to the halfway point. He didn't trust my sense of direction. He wanted to drive the first 2 hours to a remote little gas station and diner in the middle of nowhere just to make sure we were safe. He said he'd grab a coffee and then take a bus back. He was just so predictable, so eager to please. He went inside to pay for the gas. I slid over into the driver's seat. Karen was next to me, vibrating with mean energy. Now, Chloe, do it now, she whispered, her eyes shining. I looked at the diner. I could see him through the window, smiling at the cashier, probably asking her how her day was. My stupid husband. My sweet, weak Ben. A part of me, a tiny, small part, felt a sting of something. Hesitation. It felt mean. But Karen just laughed. Oh, come on. He'll be fine. He'll call a friend, get a bus. It'll teach him a lesson not to be so clingy. It's just a joke, Chloe. God, don't be so boring. I took a breath. I put the car in drive. It is just a joke, I said, more to myself than to her. I hit the gas. We peeled out of the gravel lot, laughing. We laughed so hard I had to wipe tears from my eyes. We laughed for a solid 10 minutes, talking about the look he would have on his face. I looked in the rearview mirror just before we rounded the bend in the highway. I saw him walk out of the store, holding a coffee. He looked at the empty spot where our car had been. He didn't wave his arms. He didn't run. He just stood there. He watched us drive away until we were gone. That was the last time I saw that Ben. The next time I saw him, 3 months later, after a massive missing persons report, after the police had questioned me a dozen times, after his family had all but accused me of murder, he was standing in my kitchen. And the joke? Well, the joke was on me. The laughter, it lasted for a solid 20 minutes. We were hysterical. We replayed the look on his face, the slow turn, the confusion. We made up scenarios. He's probably trying to flag down a car right now. Karen shrieked, wiping tears from her eyes. He's probably asking some grizzled trucker for a ride, and the guy's just looking at him like he's crazy. Oh my God, he'll be so mad. I gasped, my stomach hurting from laughing. He's going to sulk for a week. But as we got closer to the cabin, the laughter started to die down. The adrenaline faded, and the silence in the car got heavy. He'll be fine, Chloe, Karen said, sensing my shift. He's a grown man. He'll get a bus. He'll call us tonight, all whiny, and we'll laugh. Yeah, you're right, I said. It's just a joke. We got to the cabin. We cracked open a bottle of wine. We turned on music. We did all the sisters' weekend things we were supposed to do. But I kept looking at my phone. By 8 p.m., I hadn't heard from him. I'm just going to call him, I said, a little annoyed. Just to hear him beg. I called. It rang, and went to voicemail. Hey, it's Ben. Leave a message. Hey, stupid, I said, leaving a message, the wine making me brave. Hope you're not, dead on the side of the road. Call me when you get home, you big baby. Karen snorted into her wine. We kept drinking. I didn't realize how much of my life was built around Ben's presence. His quiet, constant, predictable presence. He was the one who made coffee in the morning. He was the one who locked the doors at night. He was the one who texts me, drive safe, every single time I left the house. To understand Ben, or the Ben I thought I knew, you have to understand our life. It was simple, and I hated it. I thought I was meant for something more exciting, more dramatic. Ben was my anchor, and I felt like I was drowning. I remember, just a month before the trip, I'd come home after a terrible day at work. I'd missed out on a promotion. I walked in, threw my keys at the wall, and just started crying. Ben didn't say anything. He walked over, put his hands on my shoulders, and started rubbing. He just stood there for 10 minutes, working the knots out of my neck, not asking questions, not offering solutions. Just being there. When he was done, I turned around. Is that it? I snapped. You're not going to say anything? You're not going to tell me to go in there tomorrow and fight for it? He had this tired look. A look I saw a lot. I figured you wanted to be angry for a minute, Chloe. Not be fixed. Do you want me to order food? You're so passive. I yelled. You just accept things. Don't you ever want to fight? What am I fighting, Chloe? He asked, so quietly. Your boss. Or you. I hated him for that. I hated him for seeing me, really seeing me, and not judging, just observing. It made me feel small. It made me feel exposed. My sister, on the other hand, Karen, made me feel big. We get together, and we talk about our potential. God, Chloe, she'd say, swirling her glass of white wine. You are meant for so much more than him. He's like a nice, comfortable pair of beige socks. Nobody gets excited about beige socks. You need boots, Chloe. You need something with a heel. And I'd laugh and I'd agree. And I'd go home and look at Ben, reading his boring history book in his favorite chair, and I'd feel contempt. That's the awful truth. I felt contempt for his goodness. I felt contempt for his patience. I had convinced myself that his kindness was a weakness, and that my cruelty was a strength. That first night at the cabin, I fell asleep drunk, my phone on the pillow next to me. I woke up at 7 a.m., my head pounding. The first thing I did, before I even went to the bathroom, was check my phone. No missed calls. No texts. The annoyance was gone. Now, there was just a tiny needle of ice in my stomach. He's sulking, Karen said from the kitchen, already making coffee. He's definitely sulking. He's probably at home right now, waiting for you to call and apologize. He's trying to teach you a lesson. God, the nerve. It made sense. That sounded exactly like something Ben would do. Something passive-aggressive. He wouldn't confront. He'd pout. You're right, I said, the ice needle receding. What a child. Fine. Two can play at that game. We went hiking. We went into the little tourist town and shopped. I didn't check my phone all day. I made a point not to. I was showing him. We got back to the cabin around sunset on day 2. We'd been gone for almost 36 hours. I had 14 missed calls. My heart jumped. I thought, there it is. There's the panic. I was almost relieved. But the calls weren't from Ben. They were from his mother. And his sister. And his best friend, Greg. I opened my texts. Ben's mom. Chloe, honey, just calling to see how you are. Ben isn't answering his phone. Is he with you? Ben's mom. Chloe, please call me. I'm getting worried. Ben's mom. See Chloe. Where is my son? My blood went cold. Karen saw my face. What? What is it? He hasn't called anyone, I whispered. His mom is, she's freaking out. I called my voicemail. The one I'd left him. The hey, stupid message. It had never been listened to. Chloe, Karen said, her voice suddenly sharp. Call the diner. Call the gas station. My hands were shaking. I looked up the number. I called. A woman answered. Highway 12 Diner. Hi, I said, trying to sound normal. I was there yesterday morning. My husband. Was he still there? Tall guy, brown hair, wearing a blue jacket. Oh, him, the woman said. The one you left. Her voice was flat. Cold. Did he get a bus? Don't know about a bus, the woman said. He stood out there for maybe 10 minutes. Just staring down the road after you. Didn't even grab the coffee you paid for. My stomach dropped. What? What happened to him? A big rig pulled in, the cashier said. 18-wheeler. Red cab. The driver got out, talked to your husband for a minute. Your husband? He looked back at the diner, then he nodded, climbed up into the passenger seat, and they drove off. Headed west. He got in a truck? That's what I said. None of my business, but you just left him. Looked real cold, what you did. She hung up. I stared at the phone. He got in a truck. I told Karen. He just left. With a trucker. Karen, she actually laughed. Oh my God, Chloe. He ran off. He finally snapped. He's probably halfway to Vegas by now to become a stripper. But I wasn't laughing. It didn't make any sense. Ben. He wouldn't talk to a stranger, let alone get in a truck with one. He was afraid of everything. He was afraid of germs. He was afraid of flying. We cut the weekend short. We packed in a blur of silence and drove home. My mind was racing. What do I tell his mom? What do I say? He left me? No. I left him. But we got home. The house was dark. Quiet. Ben. I called out, my voice sounding weak in the entryway. Ben. I'm home. Nothing. I walked into the kitchen. And I stopped. Karen bumped into me from behind. What? On the kitchen counter, right in the middle, perfectly aligned with the edge, was his phone. Next to it was his wallet. My heart didn't just drop. It had stopped. He left without his phone. He left without his wallet. He wouldn't. He couldn't. Ben was the guy who would drive back home if he forgot his phone. He was the guy who checked for his wallet 3 times before leaving a room. I opened the wallet. Everything was there. His driver's license, his credit cards, his cash. He had left. With a trucker. With no money, no ID, and no phone. Karen, I said, and my voice was shaking so hard I could barely speak. He had nothing. Chloe, she started, but the bravado was gone. Her face was white. He had nothing, Karen. We left him in the middle of nowhere. And he's gone. I grabbed my phone. I dialed 911. My husband. I stammered, the tears finally coming, hot and real. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of pure, unadulterated terror. My husband is missing. The first betrayal wasn't a joke. The first betrayal was that moment. The moment I realized my stupid, mean, harmless prank had erased him. The police came. I told them a version of the truth. We had a fight. I cried, the performance of a lifetime. A stupid fight. At a gas station. I was so angry I drove off. I thought he'd call. I thought he'd get a bus. I'm so stupid. The officer, a woman with tired eyes, just looked at me. You left your husband, ma'am, at a remote gas station, 100 miles from home, and just drove away. Her words, the judgment in her eyes, it was the first time I realized. I wasn't the one playing a joke. I wasn't the smart one. I was the monster. And Ben, my sweet, weak, stupid Ben, was gone. The officer's name was Detective Miller. She wasn't a patrol cop. She was real police. And her eyes didn't have a trace of pity in them. They were just observant. She sat at my kitchen table, the one where Ben ate his cereal every morning, and she looked at me like I was a puzzle she was trying to solve. A fight, she repeated. Not a question, a statement. And you drove off, 100 miles, and you left him, without his phone, or his wallet. I didn't know he didn't have them. I stammered, the lie already feeling thin and patchy. I was so mad. I wasn't thinking. I thought I don't know. You thought he'd what, Chloe? Her voice was so calm, and it was the calmest, most terrifying sound I'd ever heard. Hitchhike. Walk. Karen, standing by the counter, jumped in. She thought he'd call. She's just upset. We were supposed to be on a girls' trip, and he was just hovering. It was a spat. Detective Miller turned her head, very slowly, to look at my sister. And you were there, ma'am? Yes, Karen said, her voice too high. I was in the passenger seat. And you also thought it was a good idea? To abandon your sister's husband in the middle of nowhere? Karen's face went from pale to red. It was her fight. I saw the look Miller gave her. It was the look of a predator that had just successfully cut one animal from the herd. I knew, right then, that Karen would break. If she was pushed, she would break and tell them everything. It was my fault, I said, cutting Karen off, trying to sound stronger. I did it. I was angry. I'm so scared. I just want him home. That's when the front door burst open. It wasn't a knock. It was an arrival. Esther, Ben's mother. Esther was not a warm woman. She was all sharp angles and sharp opinions. She had never, not once, thought I was good enough for her son. And now, seeing her face, crumpled with a kind of raw, animalistic panic, I saw real hatred for the first time in my life. "Where is he?" she screamed, her voice cracking. She didn't look at the police. She locked her eyes on me. "Where is my son, Chloe? What did you do to him?" "Esther, I knew it. I knew you'd be the end of him. I told him you were poison. Where is he?" She was coming at me, her hands clawed. Miller's partner, a big, quiet guy who'd been standing by the door, stepped in front of her. Ma'am, we need you to stay calm. We're doing everything we can." "She did something," Esther shrieked, pointing at me. He, I know it. You hated him. You all saw it. You told me, Ben, you told me how she treated you." My blood ran cold. What had he told her? Ben never complained. He just absorbed it. Hadn't he? "Ma'am, we need to search the house," Miller said, her voice cutting through Esther's sobs. "Just procedure." I just nodded, numb. My house. My safe, boring house. It was a crime scene. They were professional. They were quiet. They moved through the rooms. Karen was chain-smoking on the back porch, crying. Esther was in the living room, whispering, my baby, over and over, refusing to look at me. And I just stood in the kitchen. I was the one who'd been left behind. I was completely, utterly alone. Miller came back into the kitchen. "The spare room," she said. "The closet. There's a bag. A large, dark green bag. Can you come identify it?" I didn't know what she was talking about. I walked, my legs feeling like they were made of concrete. I followed her to the spare room. The closet was open, and on the floor was a bag I had never, ever seen in my life. It was a big, military-style duffel. Heavy-duty canvas. I've never seen that, I whispered. Miller just looked at me. Then she crouched down and unzipped it. My heart. I thought it was going to come out of my chest. This wasn't Ben. Inside, packed with a kind of neat, obsessive precision, was gear. A compact, high-end water filtration straw. Dozens of foil-wrapped energy bars. A medical kit that looked like something a paramedic would carry. 2 thick bundles of cash. I'm talking thousands of dollars. A compass. A high-powered flashlight. A length of rope. And a small, wicked-looking utility knife. This isn't his, I said. Miller didn't say anything. She just reached deeper into the bag and pulled out a map. She unfolded it. It was a detailed, topographical map. And it was a map of the exact, remote, 100-mile stretch of Highway 12, right where the diner was. The area was circled, in red ink. "Ma'am," Miller said, and her voice was no longer calm. It was sharp, cold. "You said you had a fight. You said you just drove off. You expect me to believe that your husband, who hates bugs, had a fully stocked survival bag with a map of the exact area. You were going to abandon him." She stood up. She was a full head taller than me. You think I... The words wouldn't come out. Esther was in the doorway. What is it?" She saw the bag. She saw the map. "Oh my God," Esther whispered. "Oh my God. You planned this. You were going to kill him. You lured him out there and you... I looked at the bag. I looked at Esther's face, contorted with certainty. I looked at Karen, who was shaking her head, her eyes wide with terror. And I looked at Detective Miller. And I knew. The truth, the real truth, it was pathetic. It was a joke. Who would believe that? We just wanted to teach him a lesson. They thought I was a murderer. I was trapped. The joke was gone. It was insane. No one would ever believe it. So, I had to. A new story. A different story. The only story that made sense. The tears, they came for real this time. Hot, terrified, desperate tears. I didn't know. I sobbed, sinking to the floor. Oh my God. What didn't you know, Chloe? Miller pressed. He was leaving. I cried out, the life forming, full and complete in my throat. Esther stopped. What? We did have a fight. I looked up, my face a mask of devastation. He told me. He said he met someone. He was leaving me. He said he was going to disappear. That I wouldn't be able to find him. I didn't believe him. I thought he was being dramatic. I pointed at the bag. I never. That must be, oh my God. He planned it. He planned to leave. I looked at Miller, my eyes wide. The diner, he didn't. I didn't abandon him. I drove off, and he let me. He wanted me to go. It was perfect. It explained the bag. It explained the map. It explained the cash. It explained him getting into a random truck. It explained him leaving his phone and wallet. He wanted to disappear. It painted him as the villain. And it painted me as the victim. The scorned wife. Esther looked confused. He wouldn't. Ben. He did. I screamed at her. He said he was sick of me. He said he was done. My sobs were real now. I was crying from the sheer scale of the lie I was telling. It was monstrous, and it was the only thing that was going to save me. Miller watched me. Her eyes. I couldn't read them. They weren't sympathetic, but they were processing. The puzzle pieces, they were fitting. Just in the wrong order. He was leaving me, I whispered, burying my face in my hands. And now he's gone. The inciting catastrophe wasn't the joke. It was the moment I found that bag. The moment I realized my Ben, the stupid Ben, the weak Ben, had a secret. A huge, terrifying secret. A secret that had been sitting in my closet, packed and ready. And in that moment, to save myself, I had to erase the man I knew and invent a new one. A man who would cheat. A man who would run. I had no idea how close to the truth I really was. The police, they left. Hours later. They took the bag. They took his computer. Esther, she left, but not before giving me one last look. A look of profound doubt. I was alone with Karen in my empty house. Chloe, Karen whispered, her voice trembling. That bag, what? Shut up, Karen, I said, my voice dead. Just shut up. I was no longer the one playing a joke. I was a suspect. And my husband, my stupid, sweet, boring husband, was what? A survivalist. A runaway. The man I thought I knew, he had never existed. And I was trapped. Utterly, completely trapped in the mess I had made. The point of no return. I had passed it hours ago, laughing in the car. Now, I was just waiting. Waiting for what? I had no idea. The house, it was so quiet. It was the loudest silence I'd ever heard. Ben's absence wasn't just a space. It was a thing. It was a cold, heavy presence that sat in his chair, lay on his side of the bed, stood in the kitchen where his stupid wallet and phone had been. Karen left the next morning. She couldn't look at me. I'm going home, Chloe, she'd whispered, her eyes all red and puffy. I can't. I just can't. You can't, I'd hissed, grabbing her arm. You can't leave. You're in this. You're my sister. You were there. She yanked her arm away. That was a joke, Chloe. A mean joke. This. She gestured around the empty, sterile house. I don't know what this is. I have to go. And just like that, I was alone. My only ally, my co-conspirator, had buckled. The first threat of pressure, it came from Detective Miller. She called, 2 days later. Chloe, just following up. We're running traces on his financials, his phone records, but so far nothing. No other woman. No unusual purchases. No hotel rooms. No contact with anyone suspicious. It's like like he just worked and came home. To you. My throat went dry. He was good. I lied, the words feeling like gravel in my mouth. He must have used cash. Or a burner phone. I told you. He was planning this. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Right. Well, we're going to keep looking. But Chloe, if you remember anything. a name, a place, anything. It would really help sell your story. Sell your story. She didn't believe me. I hung up the phone, and my hands were shaking so hard I dropped it. My lie, the perfect, beautiful lie I'd built, it had a crack in it. And Miller was already prying at it. The second thread, it was Esther, Ben's mother. She went public. 2 days after that, my face was on the local news. I was walking out of a grocery store, just trying to buy milk, and a camera was in my face. Chloe, is it true you left your husband? Did you have a fight? Does Ben have a secret life? And behind the reporter was Esther. Her face was a mask of grief. But it looked like righteousness. She was holding a flyer, a flyer, with Ben's smiling face on it, the one from our wedding. And underneath, in big, black letters, missing, Benjamin Whitfield, last seen by his wife. By his wife. Not with his wife. By his wife. It was an accusation. The flyers, they were everywhere. On telephone poles, in coffee shop windows. My town, it wasn't a big town. People knew us. They knew Sweet Ben. And they knew me. The career girl. The ambitious one. The whispers, they started instantly. I'd walk down the street, and people, they'd stop talking. They'd cross the road to avoid me. I wasn't just the grieving wife. I was the wife who? I was a prisoner in my own home. The third thread, it was practical. It was life. Ben was gone. And Ben paid the bills. Ben handled the money. I had my account, but the house, the mortgage, the cars, it was all ours. I went to the bank to just get money. The teller, a woman who'd been at my wedding, she wouldn't look at me. I'm sorry, Chloe, she said, her voice low. I can't. The joint accounts, they're frozen. What do you frozen? Why? It's the police, she stammered. He's a missing person. And the circumstances, it's under investigation. I can't touch it. No one can. Until he's found. Or what? I wanted to scream. Or until I'm arrested? I was broke. I had my career, but my paycheck, it couldn't cover this. This life that Ben had built. The stupid Ben, the beige socks Ben, he had handled everything. And I had nothing. I went home. The house, it had felt cold. I couldn't afford the heat. I called Karen. I'm broke, I whispered into the phone. Karen, the accounts, they're frozen. I need money. Chloe, she sobbed. I can't. My husband, he knows, Chloe. He knows about the joke. He says if I talk to you, if I give you anything, he'll leave me. He'll tell the police the truth. She chose him over me. We have to tell them, Chloe, she cried. It's the only way. Just tell them it was a joke. A stupid joke. No, I screamed. They'll destroy us. They already think. I killed him. The bag, Karen. The map. They'll never believe us. We stick to the story. He left me. I slammed the phone down. The betrayal, it had burned. My sister, gone. My money, gone. My reputation, gone. I was trapped. And then Greg showed up. Ben's best friend, Greg. Greg, he was like Ben. Quiet. Solid. He worked in computers. He knocked. I almost didn't answer. But he saw me. Through the window. I opened the door. He looked terrible. He hadn't shaved. Chloe, he said. His voice it scraped. Greg. He didn't cheat Chloe, he said. It wasn't a question. Greg. I don't. He didn't, Greg said, stepping past me into my house. Ben loved you. He worshipped you. He hated how you treated him, but he loved you. He wouldn't cheat. You don't know. I whispered, my life feeling so thin. I do know, Greg said. He looked around the room. But he was a liar. Just not your way. My heart, it stopped. What do you mean? Greg, he looked at me. His eyes, they were sad. That bag, he said. The go bag. The cops told me about it. You acted surprised. I didn't say anything. He had 3 of them, Chloe, Greg said quietly. 1 in his car, 1 at his office, and that one. He wasn't. Sweet, stupid Ben. He was a prepper. A serious one. He always said that the world was one bad Tuesday away from ending. He taught me how to pick locks. I stared at him. Pick locks? Ben. He wasn't running away from you, Chloe, Greg said, his voice breaking. He was running to something. Or away from something else. That stretcher, he practiced it. He called it his disappearance drill. My mind, it wouldn't work. What did you do, Chloe? Greg whispered, his eyes filling with tears. What joke did you play? What line did you push him over? He wouldn't have left his phone unless it was Protocol 7. Protocol 7. What is that? Greg, he just shook his head. He never told me. Just that it meant. No. Traces. Going dark. Chloe, he's not missing. He's gone. He activated. Greg left. He just walked out. I slid down the wall. Activated. Protocol 7. Going dark. The sweet, stupid Ben. It had shattered. The cheating Ben. My lie. It evaporated. I was left with what? A stranger. A liar. A prepper. A spy. What was he? I needed to know. I needed proof. Not proof for Miller. Proof for me. I ran to his office. The one room. I never went in. It was neat. Books on history. On economics. I tore it apart. I pulled books off shelves. I emptied drawers. Nothing. Just Ben stuff. Pens. Paper clips. I stopped. I thought. Greg said pick locks. I looked at the floor. Hardwood. I knocked. Solid. Hollow. Under his desk. A loose board. I I jammed my fingernails under it. I pulled. It came up. And underneath, not money. Not letters. A small black notebook. And a satellite phone. My heart, it hammered. I opened the notebook. It wasn't a diary. It was codes. It was lists. Rendezvous. Point. K-12. Extraction. 72 hours. Asset. Secure. Burn notice Aries. Compromised. Contingency. Protocol 7. Vehicle west. Contact. Red 18. Red 18. The cashier. She said a red truck. An 18-wheeler. I fell back. It wasn't random. The trucker, he wasn't a stranger. He was a contact. My joke. My stupid, cruel, petty joke. I hadn't just stranded my husband. I had triggered something. I had forced him to run. I had activated Protocol 7. I wasn't married to Ben the accountant. I didn't know who I was married to, and I had just destroyed his life, or his cover, and I was left behind, in his old life, with my lie, and his secrets. I just sat there, on the floor of his office. The hardwood, it was cold. It had bit into my legs. My life. My stupid, boring, beige life. It was a lie. Protocol 7. Contact. Red 18. Burn notice Aries. My husband. The man who made my coffee. The man who let me yell at him. He was what? A spy. A criminal. I looked at the satellite phone. It was heavy. Solid. Not anything like my phone. My hand, it shook. What if I turn it on? What if it tracks me? What if they, whoever they are, know? I found it, but I had to. I was drowning. The police, they didn't believe me. Esther, she hated me. Karen, she abandoned me. I had nothing except this box, this secret. I pressed the power button. It whirred. A low hum. The screen, it lit up. Green. Just green. It said, searching. And then, connected. 1 bar of signal. My heart, it leapt. And then, a symbol flashed. An envelope. 1 message. It wasn't in an inbox. It was in drafts. Saved but not sent. My finger, it hovered. I pressed it. To Umbra. From his code, I guessed. SUBJ Aries. I stopped. Aries. From the notebook. Burn notice Aries. Compromised. My blood, it froze. I read the message. Aries protocol activated. Hostile. My location compromised. Extraction immediate. K-12 no longer safe. Diverting to Sierra. Confirm asset secure. I read it again. Aries, protocol activated. Hostile. My location compromised. I didn't understand. Ares protocol? What is? Ares. I scrambled for the notebook. I flipped through the pages. Codes, numbers, coordinates. And then at the back, AA list. Operation, Hearthstone. Team, Warden, his code. Umbra, Handler. I guessed. Asset, a long string of numbers. And cover, Ares, Chloe Whitfield. I dropped the book. Ares is me. I am Ares. Cover, Ares, Chloe Whitfield. I wasn't his wife. I was his cover. My whole life. My marriage. The sweet, stupid Ben. It was a job. He wasn't my husband. He was Warden. And I was his cover. The message. Ares protocol activated. Hostile. I am hostile. I looked at the date on the message. The timestamp. It was from 3 days before the joke. My mind, it shattered. 3 days before. He already knew. He already thought. I was hostile. He wasn't running because of the joke. He was already running. The joke. Me leaving him there. At that diner. K12. Rendezvous. Point. K12. No. Longer safe. The diner. The gas station. It wasn't a random stop. It was his rendezvous. He wasn't going to take a bus back. He insisted on driving to the halfway point, not to protect me, to meet his contact. He was using me and Karen as his cover to get to his extraction point. And I drove off. I left him there. And Red 18. The trucker. He must have been the backup. Ben, he saw me leave. He thought I knew. He thought I was burning him. My joke. My stupid, arrogant, cruel joke. It wasn't a prank. It was confirmation. It confirmed. I was hostile. It proved. I was the one who compromised him. He didn't just leave. He ran for his life. From me. The room. It spun. I was going to be sick. I was the villain. Not just in the town's eyes. Not just in Esther's eyes. But in his eyes. And Umbra. And Red 18. And this whole secret world. They all think I am the enemy. The devastation. It wasn't just betrayal. It wasn't just fear. It was realization. The man I despised. The man I called weak. He was living a lie so deep, so complex. And I was his prop. A thing to make him look normal. Cover Ares. And I broke my own cover. I put a target on my own back. Because what do they do with cover that is hostile? What do they do with a burn notice? My blood it ran cold. They erase it. They clean it up. I wasn't just a murder suspect for the police. I was a liability for them. I was trapped. I was alone. I had no money, no friends, and two different groups of people thought I was a killer. One group wanted to arrest me. The other group, what did they want? The silence of the house. It wasn't empty anymore. It was full. It was full of watching. It was full of waiting. He left me here. In Operation Hearthstone. The name of his mission. My home. I wasn't abandoned. I was left asterisk behind in the battlefield. And I didn't even know who the enemy was. Was it him? Was it Umbra? Or was it the people he was running from? The people who made him write that draft 3 days before I ever drove away? The people who compromised him first? The realization, it hit me. He didn't think I was hostile on my own. He thought I was working for them. He thought I was the reason he was compromised. He thought I had betrayed him. And my joke was the proof. I hid it. The notebook, the phone. I couldn't destroy it. It was the only proof. The only proof that I wasn't crazy. The only proof that he existed. I didn't put it back under the floor. That was his place. They might know it. I took it to the kitchen. The bottom of the trash compactor. Under the bag. It was disgusting. It was desperate. It was all I had. I stopped sleeping. Every creak of the house. Operation Hearthstone. Every car that drove by. Was it Miller watching me? Was it Umbra cleaning up a liability? Or was it them? The people he was running from? The people who thought I was one of them? I was nothing. A ghost in my own life. And then the phone rang. The landline. I never answered it, but it kept ringing and ringing. I picked it up. Hello, Ms. Whitfield. This is Mr. Davies from the bank. My stomach, it disappeared. I'm sorry to inform you, but your mortgage is now 60 days past due. We've sent notices. I can't, I whispered. The accounts, they're frozen. You know that. The police. We do know, Miss Whitfield, he said. His voice, it was cold. No sympathy. But the loan, it isn't with us anymore. It was part of a portfolio. It was sold to a private holding company, and they are not as patient. They are initiating foreclosure proceedings. What? Sold? Sold to who? You can't. It's done, Ms. Whitfield. I'm sorry. A notice will be posted within 48 hours. He hung up. Foreclosure. I wasn't just broke. I, I was losing the house. Operation Hearthstone. They weren't just watching me. They were dismantling my life. Piece by piece. The bank didn't sell that loan. They bought it. His enemies. They were squeezing me, trying to flush me out. Or his own people. Umbra. Trying to clean up the mission. Erase the cover. Ares is hostile. Ares is compromised. Ares needs to disappear. I didn't know who was doing it, and it didn't matter. The walls, they were closing in. That night, it happened. I was asleep on the couch. I couldn't sleep in our bed. I didn't hear a smash. I heard a click, a quiet little click from the front door. The deadbolt. He taught me how to pick locks. Greg's voice. My blood, it didn't run cold. It had stopped. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I heard feet. Barely. Soft. Shuffling. More than one. Not police. Not burglars. Professionals. I slid off the couch. Silent. I didn't run for the back door. I knew they would be there. I crawled to the pantry. The little door. In the floor. The crawlspace. Where Ben kept the holiday decorations. I eased it open. I slid down into the dark, the dirt, the cobwebs. I pulled the door shut over my head. I prayed. I could see through a vent. Just feet. 2 pairs. No. 3. Black boots. Moving fast. Silent. They knew the house. They split up. 1 pair went to the bedroom. The other 2. They walked straight, * to his office. I heard it. A ripping sound. A splintering. The floorboard. A pause. A low voice. Muffled. It's not here. Check the asset. Asset. Me. No. The other asset. Operation Hearthstone. Asset. A long string of numbers. What was it? I heard them moving. Faster. Tearing. Drawers yanked out. Books swiped off shelves. This wasn't just looking. This was angry. Nothing. She must have it. Find her. My heart. It had stopped. I saw the boots. Walking out of the office. * coming towards the kitchen. * towards me. I scrambled back into the filth. I hit my head. I clamped my hand over my mouth. The boots stopped right above me. He was standing in the pantry. I could hear him breathing. Please, please, please. Then a different voice. Outside. Now. Signals hot. The boots moved. Running. The front door opened. Closed. Silence. I stayed there. In the dirt. For an hour. Shaking. Crying. Silent. Tears that made mud on my face. I finally crawled out. The house. It was destroyed. His office, it looked like a bomb hit it. My kitchen. They found it. The trash compactor. It was open. Empty. The notebook. The sat. Phone. Gone. My only proof. My only connection. My only bargaining chip. Gone. I did the only thing. I could do. I called. Miller. Someone broke in. I screamed, the hysteria real. They tore apart the house. They were looking for something. She came. She walked through the house. She looked at his office. She looked at me. My face streaked with dirt and tears. My clothes filthy. Chloe, she said. And her voice. It wasn't cop voice. It was pity. Chloe, nothing is gone. The TV, the computers, it's all here. They just tore up Ben's office. Yes. I cried. They were looking for something of his. Or, Miller said gently. Were you looking, Chloe? Did you do this? It's okay. You're under so much stress. The bank, the foreclosure. Esther. I stared at her. She thought I was crazy. She thought I had finally snapped. I had no one. The system thought I was a killer. The underworld thought I was a traitor. And now the police thought I was insane. I was done. The eviction notice came 2 days later. A red sticker on my door. 72 hours. I packed what was left. My clothes. Some photos. I was loading boxes into my car. The last box. And S_her showed up. She stood on the sidewalk. She watched me. Her face wasn't angry anymore. It was cold. Victorious. They took it all, didn't they? She said. I didn't answer. He gave you everything. Asterisk Chloe. A home. A life. His love. And you threw it all away. For what? A joke. She knew. Karen had told her. I hope he's dead, Esther whispered, and the venom, it made me flinch. I hope he never has to come back and see this. See what you are. She spat on the sidewalk and walked away. I got in my car. My house. My life. Gone. I drove. I had nowhere to go. I had nothing. I had no one. I wasn't Chloe Whitfield anymore. I wasn't Aries. I was just a story. A warning. The woman who lost everything because of a stupid joke. I drove until the gas light came on. I pulled over to the side of a dark highway. The same highway I had left him on. And I put my head on the steering wheel. And for the first time since it all began, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, empty, rock bottom. The descent was over. There was nowhere else to fall. I sat there. For how long? Minutes? Hours? The engine ticked as it cooled. Empty. That was the word. My gas tank was empty. My bank account was empty. My house was empty. My life was empty. I was empty. I was done. I was Aries, the failed cover, the liability. I was Chloe, the crazy wife, the murder suspect. I was nothing. It would be so easy to just walk away, walk into the woods off the highway, and just disappear. Let them all be right about me. Let Esther win. Let Miller close her file. Let Umbra move on. It would be a relief to stop fighting, to stop being scared, to just stop. My hand went to the glove box. To find what? old napkins, a pen. I opened it. Ben's stuff. Of course. His car manual. His tire pressure gauge. An old pack of gum. Stupid. Ben. Practical. Ben. I shoved my hand in anger, just sweeping it all out. Junk. It all tumbled onto the floor mat, and something slid out from behind, taped to the very back of the glove box. A small, thin envelope. A business envelope. My name was on it, in his handwriting. Not Aries. Chloe. My heart. It didn't pound. It just gave one hard, painful kick, like it was restarting. This wasn't his mission. This wasn't Warden. This was Ben. My fingers, they were shaking so hard I could barely tear it open. Inside was not a letter. It was two things. A small brass key, like a locker key, and a receipt. A receipt from a pawn shop. One I didn't recognize. In a town an hour away. The receipt was for a sale. Sold by B. Whitfield. Item: one men's watch. Gold. His father's watch. The one he never, ever took off. I remembered now. He hadn't been wearing it for a week before the joke. I thought it was being cleaned. He sold it. The date on the receipt. 2 days after, he wrote the Aries is hostile message. 2 days after, he knew he was compromised. He knew he was running. He knew his mission money might be traced. So, he sold the one thing he loved for cash. And the key. I looked at it. It had a number stamped on it. 217. A locker. A pawn shop receipt and a locker key. He left them for me. Not Aries. For Chloe. He knew I would be left with nothing. He knew they would freeze the accounts. He knew I would be broke. He thought I was hostile. He thought I was the enemy. And he still left me this. He still tried to help me. Why? Unless he didn't really believe it. Unless that message, Aries is hostile, was what he had to send. But this key was what he believed. He was giving me a choice. He was giving me a way out. Or a way back in. I stared at the key in my hand. This was it. The impossible choice. I had no gas. I had no money. I had a key to a locker in a town an hour away. I could stay here. I could let the state trooper find me. I could become the crazy, homeless widow. Accept the narrative. Stay broken. Or I could fight. I could take this one last thing. This one last piece of him. Ben. Not W. Varden. Ben. The man who loved me enough to plan for my survival even as he ran for his life from me. The emptiness in my chest. It didn't fill with hope. It filled with something else. Something hard and cold and heavy. Rage. Not at him. Not anymore. Rage at them. The people who did this. The people who tore my house apart. The people who bought my loan. The people who turned my life into a weapon against him. Rage at Esther. Rage at Karen. And rage at myself. My stupid, arrogant, blind self. I was the one who called him weak. And he was the only one who had been strong at all. He was playing a game I didn't even know existed. And I had just set fire to the board. No, I am not staying broken. I am not Aries. I am not the victim. I am Chloe, and I am going to find out what is in locker 217. I looked at my hand, my wedding ring, the one thing they didn't take, the one thing that still had value. I put the car in drive. I had just enough gas to get off the highway to the next exit, to the first pawn shop I could find. I was going to sell the last piece of my old life, to buy a bus ticket, to start my new one. I am not his cover. I am not his victim. I am his wife, and I am coming. I sold my ring. The pawnbroker, he didn't even look at me. He just looked at the diamond. $300, he mumbled. The ring that Ben had saved for a year to buy. Fine, I said. I didn't care. It was just a thing, a prop, from a play I didn't know I was in. I took the money. I bought a bus ticket. The town from the pawn receipt, it was 2 hours away. I sat at the back of the bus. I probably looked like any other woman whose life had fallen apart. I wasn't. I was a woman who was going to find a key. I found the bus station. Locker 217. I walked through the rows. There it was. My hand shook. Not with fear. With something else. Anticipation. I put the key in. It turned. Click. I opened the little metal door. He had trusted me. He thought I was the enemy, and he still left me this. Inside, a thick roll of cash. Thousands. More than the watch was worth. This was his own stash. A burner phone, still in the box. A driver's license. A passport. The picture was me. From a DMV photo 2 years ago. The name was Ellis Stone. He had a whole new identity for me, ready to go. And underneath it all, a small black USB drive and one folded piece of paper. His handwriting. Chloe, not Aries. If you are reading this, it means I was right about them and wrong about you. Or it means you are smarter than I ever knew. I hope it's the second one. The cash is your how. The ID is your out. The drive is your why. They will not stop looking for me, which means they will not stop looking for you. Run. Use this. B. Alice. Live. I'm sorry. B. I didn't run. I rented a room. A tiny, nameless room in a motel by the week. I bought a laptop, a cheap one, and for 3 months, I studied. I plugged in that drive, and the world Ben had hidden from me, it opened up. It wasn't just codes. It was bank transfers. It was audio files. It was blueprints. Operation Hearthstone. The asset, it wasn't a thing. It was an account. An offshore account. He wasn't just a spy for Umbra. He was a thief. He was playing both sides. Umbra was a government agency. The enemy was a private intelligence firm. The one that bought my loan. And Ben was stealing from both of them. He was going to run. And the Aries is hostile message. I realized it now. It wasn't a warning to Umbra. It was a signal to the enemy. Bait. He was trying to make them think I was one of them, that I had betrayed him, to protect me, to paint me as an ally to the very people he was running from. So they would try to recruit me, not kill me. He was playing a three-dimensional chess game, and I had just been a pawn. No more. I learned. I learned how he moved money. I learned who his contacts were. I found the big account, the asset, and I used it. I called the shell company that bought my house. I spoke to them as Alice Stone. I bought Operation Hearthstone. I bought my house back with his stolen money. And then I waited. I moved back in. The house was empty, sterile. I cleaned it. I set the stage. And then I sent a message from my new burner phone to a number from his drive. A number labeled Contact Red 18. All I wrote was, Aries is home. Checkmate. It was 3 months to the day. The exact day from my opening hook. I was sitting in the kitchen, drinking tea. I wasn't Chloe the victim. I wasn't Aries the cover. I was Alice the player. And I heard it click. The front door deadbolt sliding back. The same sound as the men in boots. My heart didn't even speed up. I just waited. Footsteps. Soft. Confident. He walked into the kitchen doorway. And he stopped. This is it. This is the moment I told you about. We left my stupid husband miles away from home. But when he returned, it was not him. The man I married was soft. He slouched. He fidgeted. This man was thin, yes, but it was a hard thinness. He stood perfectly still. His clothes were dark and functional. His hair was shorter. But his eyes, they were the eyes I saw at the picnic, the ones I ignored, assessing, calm, empty. He was Warden. He looked at me. He looked at the clean kitchen. His face was a mask. But I saw it. The shock. He expected to find a burned safe house or a broken victim. He didn't expect to find me. Hello, Aries, he said. His voice was different. Lower. No. Sweet. Then, hesitation. That's not my name anymore, I said. I took a sip of tea. His eyes darted around. He was processing. You bought the house, he stated. With your money, I replied. The money from the asset account. The money you were going to run away with. The mask cracked. Shock. Real shock. He took a step in. You got the drive, he whispered. I got the drive, I confirmed. I know everything, Ben. Or Warden. Whatever I'm supposed to call you. I stood up. I was not going to be the one sitting down. I know about Umbra, I said, my voice low and hard. All that rage from the cart was back. But it was cold now. It was a weapon. I know about the firm. I know that you were stealing from both of them. He just stared at me. And I know, I said, taking a step towards him, that you weren't running from me. You were trying to save me. His face, it broke. The Warden mask, it just crumbled. The stupid Ben eyes came back, and they were filled with terror and grief. Chloe, he breathed. And I know, I hissed, stopping just a foot from him, that my joke, my stupid, petty, arrogant, cruel joke, it confirmed all your fears. It almost got us both killed. I had to run, he stammered. They were already here. They knew. I thought they had gotten to you. I thought you were driving me to a trap. You thought I was weak, I said. You thought I was just Aries, just cover. You thought I couldn't handle it, just like I thought you were weak. We just stared at each other. Two strangers, two liars, married 4-5 years. They're still out there, he whispered. The warden persona gone. This was just a scared man. They're hunting me, Chloe. They're hunting you. They want that money. I know, I said, and I held up my burner phone, Alice's phone, and I called them. His face, it went white, pure, blood-drained white. You what? I called the firm, Ben. I said, my voice as calm as his had been. The ones who broke in here. The ones who tore up your office. I told them Warden was back, that he was here at Operation Hearthstone to get his wife and his money. No, no, no. Chloe, you don't know what you've done. I know exactly what I've done, I said. I looked at the clock. They'll be here in 10 minutes. He looked at me, horrified, betrayed, the same way I must have looked when I found the notebook. I was your cover, I told him. Your liability. Your Aries. The weak link. I tapped my phone against his chest. Now it's your turn. This was my truth bomb. You are my bait. He stared at me. The color drained from his face. Chloe, no, he whispered. The warden mask was gone. This was Ben. Terrified. Ben. They won't knock. Chloe. They won't arrest us. They will breach and clear. They will kill us both. You've killed us. They think you're here for the money. I said, my voice like ice. They think you still have it. They want it back. We have to run. Now, he grabbed my arm. I didn't move. I pulled my arm away. I'm tired of running, I said. This isn't a game. Chloe, this is my life. It stopped being your life the second you made me your cover, I snapped. It became mine too. He looked at the door, panicked. 7 minutes. Who do you think Umbra hates more? Ben, I asked, my voice dangerously calm. He stopped. He looked at me. What? Who do they hate more? I repeated. You. The little thief who stole their petty cash. Or the firm that's been their biggest rival for 10 years. The one that keeps stealing their contracts. His eyes widened. Chloe, what did you do? I reached into my pocket. I pulled out a second burner phone. I also called. Umbra, I said. His mouth fell open. I told them, I continued, that I was Aries. That I was ready to come in. That I had all of Warden's evidence. And that the firm's top extraction team was raiding my house in 8 minutes to silence me. I told them it was an ambush. He stared. He wasn't Warden. He wasn't Ben. He was just stunned. You set them up, he whispered. You set them both up. Here. Welcome home. Ben, I said. You wanted Operation Hearthstone. You got it. This is the hearth. And this is the stone. They'll kill each other. That's the plan. And us. Chloe, they'll kill us in the crossfire. Maybe, I said. But I'm not ending up homeless and crazy on the side of the highway again. I'm not being erased. If I go down, I'm taking the whole game with me. Crash. The back door. Not a click. A boot. Get down! Ben screamed. He was Warden again. He dove at me, tackling me off the chair just as the front door splintered open. 3 men. Black boots. The same men. Warden, one yelled. The asset. Give it to us now. Ben. I screamed under the table. The drive. The master. Password. Now. This was the truth bomb. This was the public revelation. Crash. The side windows imploded. 4 more figures. Different uniforms. Darker. Heavier armor. Umbra. Federal agents. One of them screamed. Freeze. Hands up. The firm's team didn't hesitate. They opened fire. My kitchen. My boring, simple kitchen. It erupted. Gunfire, so loud it wasn't a sound. Was a punch in the chest. Plaster exploded. My stupid coffee maker vaporized. Ben was on top of me, his head down, screaming something. The password! I shrieked in his ear. Ben, trust me. The password! He looked at me. His eyes were wild. The war he had played at in secret was happening on his kitchen floor. He saw my face. I wasn't scared. I was furious. He screamed it in my ear. A string of numbers and letters. My mother's birthday. Backwards. And Esther. Of course. I slid out from under him. Chloe. No. I crawled. I dragged the laptop I had stashed under the couch. Bullets were flying over my head. I plugged in the drive. What are you doing? Ben screamed, crawling behind me. I'm not stealing it. Ben, I yelled over the chaos. I typed the password. A screen unlocked. Files. Thousands. Umbra's illegal surveillance. The firm's blackmail on senators. And Ben's accounts. All of them. I'm not running, I said. My finger went to the mouse. I had an email draft ready. The recipient list was a mile long. The New York Times. The Washington Post. Every single news agency I could find. I'm burning it down, I said. You're burning us. They already did that, I screamed. They took my house, my name, my sister. They left me nothing. I looked at him. You all left me nothing. So now you all get nothing. I hit send. The firing stopped. It didn't die down. It just stopped. One of the Umbra agents' phones buzzed. Then another. One of the firm guys looked at his. They looked up from their cover. They looked at each other. The war was over. They were both dead. The leaks were out. Their agencies were exposed. They weren't soldiers anymore. They were witnesses. Liabilities. The exact same thing I had been. Ben was staring at me, his mouth open. Warden was gone. Ben was gone. This was a man who had just seen a ghost set fire to the world. Wail. Sirens. Close. Getting closer. And I also called. Miller. I whispered. Ben's eyes snapped to me. I told her. I had a breakthrough in your kidnapping case. I said, my voice shaking, now that it was over. I told her. Your abductors were here. Right now. To get me. The front door burst open again. This time, blue and red lights filled the smoke-filled room. Police. Drop your weapons. Hands in the air. Now. Detective. Miller. She froze. She stared at the 2 rival Black Ops teams. She stared at the ruins of my kitchen. She stared at me and Ben, huddled by the couch. Him, covered in plaster. Me, holding a laptop. This was justice. This was my revelation. I stood up. My legs were jelly. Ben just looked up at me. You all underestimated me, I said, my voice so quiet in the sudden silence. I looked at him. You underestimated the stupid wife. You underestimated the joke. You underestimated Aries. I looked at Miller, who was staring, gun raised. You all thought I was weak. You thought I was the one who would break. I kicked a fallen weapon away from me. You shouldn't have done that. The gunfire stopped. The shouting stopped. All you could hear was the sirens getting closer. Wail, wail, wail. And the buzzing of phones. The Umbra team. The firm team. They looked at their screens. The world was ending. Their world. My email. They looked up from their phones and looked at each other. The enemy agents. And in their eyes, I saw the same thing. I had felt emptiness. They were no longer soldiers. They were liabilities. Just like me. Hands. Hands. Show me your hands. Miller screamed, her voice shaking but strong. And they did. These trained killers. These shadow warriors. They put their hands up. They surrendered to a small-town detective because it was over. I had ended it. Ben, he was still on the floor, staring at me. His face was a mixture of terror and something else. Awe. Chloe, he whispered. I looked at Miller. The performance wasn't over. Not quite. He's back, detective, I said, letting my voice break, letting the real shock sound like fear. They kidnapped him. They wanted something he had, and they came back for me. Miller looked at the 7 men in body armor. She looked at the ruins of my kitchen. She looked at Ben. And she looked at me. She knew my story wasn't the whole truth. But in front of her was a room full of men with illegal weapons. My lie was easier. My lie fit. Get paramedics, she barked into her radio. And everyone else. All of them. Now. The next few weeks were a blur. But it wasn't my lonely, scared blur anymore. It was a blur of sirens and suits. My email. It didn't just make a splash. It was a tsunami. Umbra and the firm, they didn't just get investigated. They evaporated. Congressional hearings. Global scandal. The men from my kitchen, they all talked. Every single one of them cut a deal. And the official story, the one the world got, it was my story. The one I gave Miller, the brave wife who never stopped looking. The kidnapped husband, a government consultant who was caught in a dangerous web. It was clean. It was simple. It made us the heroes. Detective Miller, she got a promotion. She closed her case. She never asked me about the USB drive. Sometimes a lie is just better for everyone. And justice, it came. Not just for the big guys. Karen, my sister. She called me, sobbing. Chloe, oh my God, Chloe. I saw the news. You were right. They really did take him. I'm so sorry. I listened to her cry. I told Esther, Chloe. She finally confessed. I told her about the joke. I was so scared, and she pushed me. I know, Karen, I said. My voice was empty. Can you ever forgive me? She whispered. I thought about it. I thought about the lonely nights, the frozen accounts, the terror. No, I said, and I hung up the phone. Esther. She showed up at the safe house the government put us in. She burst in crying. Ben. My baby. My hero. She rushed to hug him. Ben, he didn't move. He just stood there. And I saw Warden one last time. You spat at my wife, Mom, he said. Esther froze. You told her you hoped I was dead. Karen told me everything. I didn't know, she cried. I thought she had hurt you. You didn't care about the truth. Ben said, his voice flat. You just wanted to be, right? You just wanted to hate her. He walked to the door. He opened it. Go home, Mom. She stared at him. Her world was ending too. He closed the door in her face. Quiet. Final. And then there was us. After the hearings. After the debriefs. After all the new lies we told to the government to cover up the old ones. Aries was never hostile. Warden was a loyal agent trying to expose the firm. Lies on top of lies. They gave us our house back. Repaired. Cleaned. They gave us compensation money. They gave us our life back. We stood in the kitchen. The new coffee maker was gleaming. It was so quiet. So, I said. So, he replied. He looked at my left hand. Bare. You sold your ring, he said. Not an accusation. Just a fact. I did, I said. I sold my father's watch, he replied. We were even. He took a breath. That joke, Chloe, it was the most callous, cruel thing anyone has ever done to me. I know, I whispered. The coldness in my chest, it finally broke. And the tears came. Real ones. For him. I am so sorry, Ben. I was a horrible person. I was a monster. And I lied to you, he said, his own voice thick. Every single day. 4 or 5 years. I made you a prop in my game. I treated you like a child. I was a coward. I was so afraid of you seeing me that I never let you in. There, it was. The truth. Finally. So what now? I asked, my voice small. He didn't move to hug me. He didn't try to kiss me. He just held out his hand. Like a stranger. My name is Ben, he said, his eyes clear. I like history books. I know how to pick any lock in under a minute. And I am absolutely terrified of my wife. A small laugh escaped me. It was a weird, watery sound. I looked at his hand. I wiped my eyes. I put my hand in his. My name is Chloe, I said. I am arrogant and impatient. I am apparently very good at strategy. And I have no idea who my husband is. But I'd like to find out. He gripped my hand. It wasn't a happy ending. It was just a start. A real one. My stupid joke cost me my entire life. It tore down every lie I believed about myself, my marriage, and the world. It showed me that I wasn't strong at all. And then it forced me to become it. I thought strength was being loud and cruel. I learned strength is being quiet. It's surviving. It's seeing the truth and not looking away. It's not easy. We still live in the house. Some days it feels like a home. Some days it feels like a truce. But it's real. He's teaching me how to read a topographical map. I'm teaching him how to run our new budget. Turns out I'm really good with numbers when I'm not being gaslit. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It means more than you know to finally be heard. If this story hooked you. If it made your heart pound, please do me a favor and hit that like button and comment below. What was the moment you realized Ben wasn't who he seemed? If you subscribe and hit that notification bell, I promise to keep bringing you stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. Stay safe out there and be kind. You never know who you're really talking to.